Kyosho Ferrari, yes, another one of these. I do love Kyosho. I only have a couple of them because they're not very cheap to get, and Ferrari is even more so. And Ferrari, popular Ferrari models, even more so. Now, I've said it many times. I'm not really a car person. I don't really care about performance and stuff. I mean, I'm never gonna see any one of these cars in person, let alone drive one or own one. So why would I care like how fast they can go? Like, what is their 0 to 60 speed time it takes? I don't care, you know. Uh, I just like them because I like the way they look, and yeah. And this is Ferrari, and if you want die-cast Ferraris, there's not really that many choices, right? You can go through like old Hot Wheels or Matchbox releases, but now they're pretty expensive. And honestly, I don't think they're worth the price they're going for currently. You can go for Tomica Limited Vintage, which are really amazing but really expensive. Tomica Basic and Tomica Premiums are going to be slightly cheaper, but not True 164. True 164, you get Tomica Limited Vintage. Schuco has released a Ferrari 488 Italia, and you have Kyosho. Now Kyosho, oh, there's also Maestro and Barraco, but their stuff are well made and made well enough, but they're just not true to scale. They're just way too big to even look nice next to your normal 3-inch die cast. And you have Kyosho, and Kyosho, I've said it, because currently the Ferrari license is with the Meicong Group, which is Barraco and Maestro, and Tomica, or Tommy International, or Takara Tomy, has licensed it from, sub-licensed it from the Meicong Group. Kyosho didn't, but Kyosho did it. Instead of doing that, Kyosho just released those things, the Ferrari cars, as a toolkit, not a toolkit, a model kit, so you assemble it yourself. It's basically still the exact same thing, but technically it's not die-cast car, so, which is really great, you know. I do love Tomica Limited Vintage. You would never hear me say anything bad about them, but they're really expensive, and and I honestly not the biggest fan of how they capitalize on the scarcity of Ferraris on the market and release all of their Ferraris in like more expensive special releases, which are like what, 2 to 3 times their normal TLV releases. I'm not the biggest fan of that. And in the case of the Ferrari F40, they have some of the things that are really well done. You know, they have like opening front hatch and opening back hatch, but the problem is especially for the back hatch, you do see the hinges like right here, and they're really big. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Honestly, like if these two are the same price, I still probably would have gone for Tomica Limited Vintage, or maybe I'll go for both probably. But I do like the fact that even though this doesn't have the opening part or the incredibly detailed engine as Tomica Limited Vintage offers, I do appreciate the fact that, you know, it looks a lot cleaner. You don't see the gaps or the hinges as much as you do on the TLV model. Start yellow paint dropping around, don't like that. So I do think I'm going to make this live, because I don't, well, I mean by live I mean on the spot, because I don't think this is going to take long. I'm just gonna clean the windshield up a bit so it doesn't really become distracting later on. I think that's something that's just not gonna go away, or maybe it's outside. I don't know, we'll see about that. But yeah, so I've made some of these model kits before. Well, which ones have I done? I've done M2 machines. I have done a previous kit showed the Ferrari 250 Testarossa, and I've done M2 machines, and as well as the Taiwan 7011 exclusive Granny M partners. And every single time I just feel like, with the only exception being Kyosho, but like for the other couple of brands, they always feel cheaper when you're making them yourself. You're just seeing how the sausage is made, make you realize how like fragile and like some of the parts not as good of a quality as you would imagine otherwise. But Kyosho, when I made it, was like, oh wow, this is great. Let's see. So you have the base, the interior, which comes off. Do we need to take this off? Probably, right? Because we do need to install the wheels. This has always been slightly frightening. Okay, so the dashboard is its own piece, right? Dashboard. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, so this is all one piece. I never enjoyed doing this. Maybe I'll edit this down. We'll see. Probably not because I'm lazy. Did I say that out loud? I think I said it out loud. Great. Yeah. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. How am I supposed to take it off without breaking anything off? Because this is like plastic on plastic. I don't. Do I trust Kyosho this much? I do actually, but I don't trust myself. That's the problem. Well, I'll probably edit this part out. You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll get back. Okay, so it didn't take us that much longer when I cut away. I think the trick is to grab around here. So these two spots are pretty stable. So just grab it out and the whole piece comes out. Yeah, I do trust Kyosho. I don't trust myself is the problem. So now this is dealt with. I think the first thing to do, you can see these are the ones that are here. So 3 screws. So I would assume 2 are for screwing the body to the base. 1 is the base to the actual base, the display base. If you care, I don't. You know, this is one thing I don't get about Kyosho. It's like, why do I need like a plastic base when there's like, I get it when there's like a nice acrylic case. Well, this is not. This is just like a plastic thing, and I think it's going to be nice for transportation. It's going to help protect it, but everything else, it's not a display. I would be perfectly fine with like a cardboard base. Would have liked money being spent elsewhere, but it's, I mean, not really. I mean, I guess I'm complaining, but really no big deal. So the front axle and the rear axle, as well as the seats. Why are the seats individual pieces? I don't know. Maybe it makes it easier for customizing. Like if you want to paint the seats a different color, you can. Also, this is knife, please. I'm just gonna flick this. Nicely glides through to the front axles and oh yes. By the way, this set cost me. This set was like quote unquote on sale from a American seller for like $35, but it had like eBay bucks, so that took $10 off. So so overall it was like $25, which is a good enough price for me. I don't think there's like a direction for these tires, so wait. They're not exactly the same from one direction to the other, so I don't think there's going to be any like description on how exactly this works, but I guess I probably have to wing it, but I don't think it's going to be like too big of a deal. Let's see, logically, I would assume this way, and just want to make sure they're parallel to one another. All right, so yeah, like the in the case of the Taiwan 7 and 11 exclusive sets, like the tires feel really low quality. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel super low quality, but it definitely feels cheaper than the rest of the model, which are really well done. But here, really nice. And for the M2 Machines one, it was really frustrating trying to put the rims through the tires. Over here you have the seats, which I'll put on in a second. And for the rear axles, the tires are a lot thicker. And let's see, how did I do the front ones? I'm just want them to be consistent, if nothing else. So I did it kind of this way. Yeah, like these fit in really nicely. They're a lot more elastic than like either the M2 Machines ones or the 7-Eleven ones. So by 7-Eleven I mean Granny and Partners. They're not, you know, 7-Eleven to make them, they're just sold there, and I guess this way will be right, or will at least be consistent with the way I did the front. Let's see what's up next. Up next is Oh, okay. So the seats go underneath the. Is there a way it clips on? Really? Let's see. Yeah, it says underneath. Okay, so like so. Does it clip on? I would assume it does, right? It will make sense. With plastic on plastic, I'm always going to be a bit more frightened that things will break, especially things so tiny and presumably fragile. But I would assume it clips on somehow. Okay, not really clip on, but it's fit in pretty nice. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was out of camera range. But yeah, it looks like it fits pretty nice and snug. Hopefully just by the act of like pushing it onto the base will make it fit nice and tight. We'll see about that. Okay, stop fiddling around. The wheels are nice and centered. The interior does not want to listen to what I'm doing. Excuse me. Here, let's see. So you go here, and you go here. Is that right? Yeah, it's nice and centered. Okay, and okay, you can see the interiors fit on pretty nicely. From what I've heard, the Ferrari ones are usually more likely to roll because you put it in yourself. I don't know how that works, but that's the story I've heard. And down under you can see the places that you place the screws in. The top fits like so. Okay, so I guess putting the back first. That's looking very nicely, and I'm gonna put it like so. I can just have the whole thing upside down and just screw it in, but I don't. I want to reduce any chance of damaging the paint or anything like that. I'm very obsessive compulsive. You might even call it anal, but that's just the way I am, and I'm not ashamed of it. So I'm just gonna keep it in my hand. So one screw at the front. I said one screw at the front, like so, and one screw at the back, like so. But I'm gonna start with the one on the front first. And I don't have a ton of experience with model building, or at least not any recent times. But from my experiences, like helping out people with IKEA and fixing bikes and pencil sharpeners, which is pretty much something I've done since like elementary school. Which may completely fuck us up was trying to help other people how to do this. Come on, Kyosho. Alright, cool. I think that's in perpendicular. Oh, not really. Gee. Why is this so hard? Okay, I think this is good. And don't screw it in the whole way. You want to have both screws kind of in position and make sure everything is fine and dandy before you go all the way. I think it looks good, so I'm gonna start from the one at the back. Again, if it doesn't feel right, unscrew it a little bit and then screw it back a little just to help you out. Make sure that it's like if it's actually smooth as it's going in, you're probably on the right track for it being fitting in the grooves right. The front one still doesn't exactly want to go in, but I think it's working nicely now. Yes, it doesn't feel like I'm damaging the grooves, which is always nice to know. Alright, and the front and the front. Alright, yeah, this is very nice. And back a little bit more if possible. No, I think the back one is pretty well screwed in. The front can go a little bit more. Alright, I don't think it has any more give, but you can see the This is a difference kind of between Kyosho and Atomic Limited Vintage because after everything is said and done, this thing is not going to turn. I can maybe unscrew it a little to give it a bit more space if I want. But it's not designed. These things are designed more as models of Atomic Limited Vintage. Like I've said it many times, it's like kind of like witchcraft, because like how do you make it so nice and roll at the same time? I don't know, but generally speaking, even though Atomic Vintage is really good as accurate representation of models, Kyosho generally has as good, if not better, of a stance in Atomic Limited Vintage, right? If you yeah, in this case, you can see that's really well done, I do think. It doesn't roll very well, but you can sort of roll, but because, you know, as you would expect with a supercar like this, the wheels fit really tight in the wheel well, and it's going to be really close to the fenders, so you do see a little bit. I mean, you can see it's rolling, but not really, because, you know, this is a bit more accurate. I do like the Atomic Limited Vintage. It's hard to beat the quality, and especially Atomic Limited Vintage more often than not feels much nicer in hand because they actually have metal bases. But yeah, this is for like less than half the money you're gonna pay for Atomic Limited Vintage, and it pretty much has the quality of Atomic Limited Vintage, except it doesn't roll as well, which for my personal opinion, for my personal taste, is not as nearly as important as it being an accurate representation, accurate scale and proportion as well as stance. It's still really good, and like I said earlier, although it's Atomic Vintage is so much cooler with the opening back hatch, you can see the engine details. Not having the engine details also means it doesn't have like the grooves or the hinges or the gaps you'll see on the Atomic Limited Vintage, but it doesn't even have any of the details that Atomic Limited Vintage has, so that definitely a TLV has Kyosho beat in that regard specifically. And also doesn't have any side mirror chromes, which is unfortunate, but I don't think the TLV's ones have either. The front headlights are lens, which is really cool. You can see like the tiny bits of light, different colors of plastic, really nice. You can see the grill, you can see the there's not a sort of chip right here. That's it's a bit of a shame. No, it's not. I think it's like a kind of like a flea bite or a it's a little bit unfortunate, but it doesn't kill the model for me, I guess. You can see the Ferrari logo right here. Turning signals, more Ferrari logo, as well as the trim going all the way. Backlights are lensed as well. You can see the tiny now this part is plastic actually. Alright, or it might be metal, I'm actually not sure, because this is actually part of the base. I'm not really sure. I would imagine it's no, it's plastic. It's definitely plastic, because you can see the color difference between here and here, and this is definitely metal, so this is definitely plastic. It's a different material, but you can see it's hard to tell. Backlights are lens. You can see the Ferrari logo right here. Back wing, you can see from the construction, the top bit is a separate piece. Yeah, overall really high quality, and you know, you're definitely not gonna find a Ferrari F40. The TLV might be nicer. Like I said, again, it depends on what you're looking for in a model. It rolls, it has opening features, obviously it's very well done. It's metal base, so it feels heavier, if that's one of your priorities. But I do like the Kyosho, and like I said, if they're the same price, I'll probably just get both of them. And just being almost as cheap as half the price of Atomic Limited Vintage, it's kind of a no-brainer, I guess, if you do want the Ferrari 40. And honestly, the old Matchbox version is fine, and the Hot Wheels one doesn't even compare. Proportions are just all over the place. The Ferrari F40 is just a very difficult car to replicate, so I don't really blame Hot Wheels for that, but it's definitely not going to be as good. I do like Kyosho. I think like Kyosho alongside Atomic Limited Vintage both Japanese brands, but it's not really a surprise. I think that these two are some of like the best quality of diecast right now, like just at the very top. And I think if you are interested in a lot more, if you're more interested in rolling or like playability or a metal base, Tamikolo Vintage definitely has a leg up. But for my purposes, and I do think actually Kyosho is a better brand. Not necessarily that their individual cars are better than Tamikolo Limited Vintage, but I just think they just have such a large catalog. If you want anything, you can get it from Kyosho. Obviously Japanese cars, obviously European cars. I do want to get a couple of their Porsches one day. I want their Countach. This is a Lamborghini Aventador SV I showed a while ago. Obviously they have Ferrari, which is a rarity. And you can actually get a true 164 Ferrari like Enzo or a whatchamacallit, LaFerrari from Kyosho, which you can't from Tamikolo Limited Vintage. And they even have American cars like the Ford GT40 or the like Mustangs and Firebirds and Corvettes, you know, which just have a lot more than Tamikolo Limited Vintage. Roughly the same price for the most part as like standard Tamikolo Limited Vintage releases, but a lot cheaper than their special releases, such as all of the Ferrari cars. So yeah, I'm really glad to get this Ferrari F40. It's a beaut. I do love Kyosho. Do I have anything else to add to it? No. And it's really interesting because this is the only one that doesn't really roll. I mean, it rolls, but it doesn't. This one rolls perfectly. I think it just more have to do with like supercars and hypercars, where in reality, just a lot, you know, a lot less space in normal cars. Like this one, it rolls, and it rolls pretty well, but you do have to give it a, you have to push it down just a little bit more. While this just, I mean, this one just rolls the 250 Testarossa. Yeah. Yeah, I do love Kyosho. They're expensive, but can't say they're not worth it. That's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and nothing else. Goodbye.